So there is one advantage to the Conservative Party having their leadership elections, and that's a general rightward shift in the Overton window. But not very far, a very tepid rightward shift. So the Conservatives might eventually end up about as right-wing as Mao.
I suppose you could describe it a little bit more of a fidget, judging by
yes,
they're forced to conform to their base, but then obviously as soon as they get in, they're going to pull a Boris and sing by the platitudes, but not actually govern that way.
Oh God, is that an accurate prediction? You don't even need to check that. That's going to be the way things are. And so this is all bad, but we're going to go through it because it's really insufferable. But before we do, if you want to support us, you can go to lotus.com and check out our latest book club, which is Douglas Murray's War on the West. Now, this is Douglas Murray's latest book in his cataloguing of the woke war against the West and its values and virtues. And this is important because this actually ties into what the Conservatives are trying to appeal to in their leadership contest. It's actually very interesting watching them learning what virtue signalling is from the right. And it's like, okay, good start. So let's begin, right? Sky have got an article here just because this is all changing fairly rapidly. But this was from yesterday. And it's quite interesting because we'll go through who's in, but I think it's interesting who's out. Someone like Dominic Raab didn't put himself forward.
He was too busy doing his usual rowing competitions, I suppose.
Yeah, but I didn't mind Raab. Like in 2013, Raab was actually standing up to feminism on a moral level.
I was actually hoping on the original 2019 leadership race he would get in there because eventually he turned out was one of the only people that said, "Oh, I won't kneel for BLM. I'll kneel for my wife, my God, my country, and that's about it." And I was very impressed. And ever since he's been, I suppose, a bit tepid. He actually caved to the media narratives of, "Oh, you were on a sun lounger while Afghanistan was happening," and ever since then he's folded.
Yeah, I know. It's really it's sad, but he was one of the people I actually thought actually had an original thought of his own about this. Yeah. And a few years ago, it's like 2014, something like that, he actually got in a lot of trouble for standing up against the main narrative about feminism, which I found remarkable because people forget, but if you go back 8 years now, you actually weren't allowed to criticize feminism in public. And so Dominic Raab going, "No, actually, I think this is sexist and wrong," got him a lot of flack, and he stood by it anyway. So Dominic Raab was the one person I actually quite liked. Michael Gove has also ruled himself out.
No. Anyway.
Well, good for Gove, really. You know, like, come on, no one was going to choose you.
No one was going to choose you. No one who went through your education system, including me, was going to choose you.
Yeah. So let's before we begin, in fact, so everyone's expecting this to get really, really dirty. Now, how dirty do you think this is going to get? Because if you go to the next one, so the Independent, like, look, this is, we're going to get all these dirty dossiers on people. The knives are going to come out. The dirtiest campaign in history. Do you think it's going to be like that?
I think their definition of dirty is going to be very askewed from what the base and we think is dirty. So I think a lot of the mudslinging is going to be either progressive credentials or 3 years behind where the conversation has moved. Because if you notice, their degree of dirty is looking at Penny Mordaunt being incapable of defining what is a woman, which I'm sure we'll cover.
We will.
But things like the vaccine procurement, which obviously we're not going to question because we'll be on YouTube, but things like that won't be raised, whereas the GB News constituency viewing base of the Conservative Party very much have those concerns. So I think that the dirtiest it's going to get is someone like Nadine Dorries coming out and saying about Jeremy Hunt's lockdown credentials. But I think the Conservative Party are going to think it's far. They're going to have a different range of dirty compared to what a lot of people actually want to talk about.
Well, they seem to think it's going to get personal, as in it could be scandal-ridden and things like this. But hopefully not. Hopefully they actually realise that it makes more sense to start virtue signalling to the right, which would be good for Conservatives because that would be the beginning of the shift of the Overton window rightwards rather than leftwards, which is a very rare and unprecedented situation. So Guido Fawkes have done a quick summary of who is being backed by however many MPs. And as you can see, Rishi Sunak is tearing ahead. Penny Mordaunt, Rishi's on about 35 backers, Penny Mordaunt's on 20, Tujand Hat is on 15, I can't pronounce him. He's half French, I'm not pronouncing him. He's on 15. Truss is on about 15. Zahawi's on about 12. Hunt's on about 12. Baynock's on about 12. Patel's on about 10 or 12, something like that. Braverman's on 10. Javid's on 10. Shapps is on 7. So, I mean, not exactly an enviable group of people. Some of them, I think, are okay or are generally okay. But
I'm black-pilled on the lot of them.
Yeah,
Having dug into their histories.
I'm being very charitable when I say I think they're okay. But anyway, so let's begin with Rishi, the globalist. Did you see his wonderful campaign?
I
website?
did. Someone pointed out, I think it might have even been Tom Harwood who said something insightful for once, that his logo looks like a dishwasher tablet brand, and it just reminds me of Sean Bailey's mayoral campaign where everyone was comparing it to a Silent Bang advert.
Yes, this is the most boring, bland corporate. Exactly.
It's like a LinkedIn graphic.
Yes, it's just totally devoid of anything that might be considered moral content. But then there's no great surprise there. So a quick roundup of Rishi Sunak. He's the guy who pumped, what was it, £450 billion into the economy?
Yes, the money printing statistics for the Bank of England were 150 billion in November 2020 alone to pay for the second round of furlough scheme under the second lockdown. And oh god, if it isn't the consequences of our own actions when we're facing 11% inflation.
Yeah, it was apparently £7 for a slab of butter at the supermarket recently, and everyone was really complaining about it. It's like, well, this is what you get, frankly. But he does appear to be some sort of globalist, as David Atherton points out. Apparently, he was at a virtual event, Bloomberg virtual event, led by the World Economic Forum, and called for strong, coordinated global leadership. He called for the widespread adoption of mandatory climate-related financial disclosures, which are already present in the UK. So, brilliant. So he's just a WEF globalist.
Totally unsurprising, given both his background in the financial sector and also, as Majid Nawaz also pointed out when he did Joe Rogan, he's the spearhead for the G7's adoption of digital currencies.
Yes, we'll go to that one next, in fact. Yes, he wants the centralized digital currency to be run by the government, which is really against the point of the digital currency. But what do I know about any of this? But yes, he's a very concerning person. And of course, he's more than happy to start genuflecting to the left. I mean, do you remember the Diversity Britain coin? When you scroll down, that is the most unelectable picture I've ever seen. Like, hi, I'm a conservative. I've created a coin that Jeremy Corbyn would have made, and I'm going to have my stupid, fat, grinning face next to it. It's just the worst.
It's like a nightmarish Mona Lisa where the eyes follow you around the room.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it's like. The optics on this, to call yourself a conservative, you may as well say that I'm a leftist.
But also, if you notice on the coin itself, it doesn't have any British iconography beyond the word Britain. Instead, it's almost shaped like a globe with an interwoven net around it. So it almost looks like you're wrapping the planet in your ideology.
Isn't that very interesting? Anyway, so moving on. He wasn't sure what a woman was, because no one was. And Julia Hartley-Brewer was like, it's an adult human female, isn't it? And Rishi refused to actually say anything, but just agreed with the Prime Minister at the time, Boris, because he is a yes man. He's a lackey. He's just trying to move up in the party. Although in his recent bid, he has actually, if you can go to the next one, John, he's put out a women's rights, I was going to say manifesto, but I mean, they call it literally a manifesto for women's rights, but like the idea of anyone in the Conservative Party having any kind of manifesto implies prior thought and any amount of cogitation on any subject.
I love whenever net zero is raised as a spectre. Everyone goes, oh, it was in the Conservatives' 10-point 2019 manifesto, so everyone voted for it. It's number one, as if the general public read beyond, get Brexit over and done with so I don't have to hear about it again. Yeah. And number two, it wasn't exactly outlined very well. As I told you off air, I spoke to Chris Skidmore, the man who signed net zero into law at the Conservative Party conference last year. He sat on a panel with me. Someone asked, oh, what did this entail? And he said, I just changed the number to 2050. And I looked at him utterly aghast that you didn't budget something that's going to terraform our entire economy. Fantastic. Thanks for making me pay for that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but if I just change this number, then job done, right?
Yeah. More years equals more good.
Yeah, exactly. It's so stupid, right? So yeah, in this, if you there's a link that comes with this. So in his manifesto for women's rights, Sunak will also oppose biological males being allowed to compete against women in sport. I mean, thank God for small mercies, right? This is a very, very slight rightward shift. We're going to speak about something that the left is going to start screeching
It's
about.
not even a rightward shift. It's a shift to 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Again, I was speaking to my grandparents who are very politically involved, and they're some of the turned-on boomers, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And they said it's pretty staggering that in our lifetimes we see the main barrier to entry for the opposition party, which should be ahead in the polls right now just for sheer incompetence, not because they're very good, is that they are incapable of defining a primary school level biological category.
Yes.
And the fact that we've got here with a mainstream, the leading Conservative candidate, we're
I can
lost.
define woman. I mean, I couldn't 6 months ago,
Yeah.
but now that this has become like an important political talking point.
After consulting my wife.
Yeah, probably not even actually.
No.
It's probably just that it appears to be the people on, again, I say the right, but we'll say the right for now. The only definition that anyone has really is adult human female or nothing. And so, okay, well, if that's something that is actually going to be persuasive, something rather than nothing is what they're all going to pin their their colours to. But okay, big deal. Like, you don't know anything about any of this. You're just saying it because you know everyone is expecting you to say these things. And you know this, right? Because of the way he follows this up, right? Sorry, on the previous one. This is someone close to Rishi who's speaking on his behalf. Rishi was brought up in a family of strong and successful women, and under his leadership, women's rights will be better protected. Oh, thank fuck he's a feminist. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. Thank God he's a feminist.
Well, the fact that he's brought up almost entirely by strong women does explain why he's about 5'4".
Is he?
Yeah, have you not seen photos of him in the lineup?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it looks like when you get inconsistent Wi-Fi and the connection drops out.
I haven't seen him. But he wants to ensure that women and girls enjoy the same freedom most males take for granted in feeling safe from assault and abuse. So literally 2015 feminist rhetoric.
I'd love for him to see the actual assault statistics.
Oh, yeah.
Considering the
it's
proportion
men
is
who get
committed
assaulted.
more on men. I know it's men by men, but if you're a man who's not planning to commit assault that day, then you're the target.
Yes. And so it's all feminist rhetoric. Just feminist rhetoric from 5 years ago. So it's like, okay, great. He backs female-only sports competitions, though. Brilliant. So there was this clip going around of Rishi that I think is actually rather unfair. It's a clip from like 2005 or something, or 2001, where he's very young and he's talking about whether, like how he, it's just his social life, really. And in it, he's like, well, I've got friends who are aristocrats or upper class and working class. Well, actually, I don't have working class friends. It's like, yeah, okay, that he's a posh kid, raised in, an upper class environment. No one complained that Boris doesn't have any working class friends.
No, it is something they usually hit Rees-Mogg on, but I don't. I mean, if you are transparent in your political career and you're willing to have fairly open dialogues and what's the word? When they surgeries, the MP surgeries. If you're happy to have an open invitation to everyone to talk to you, having your personal life, having your upbringing, which isn't your fault, where you're swimming in the waters of class privilege, if you've got the humility to bring yourself down to earth, connect with people with real issues, fantastic. Has he done that? Doesn't really seem like it.
Of course not. But this is being used as a stick beating
Cudgel.
by the left.
Yes.
But it's just like, look, it's not really interesting or fair, to be honest.
No.
What's interesting is that Rishi seems to have been part of a plot to backstab Boris, which is what many people seem to think. Because if you go and look up the domain registrar of his website, it turns out it was registered about 8 months ago.
Right, okay. I saw one of the redirecting ones without the number in it was last registered in December as well. So
Yeah.
if you type it. So
December
it's
this-
obviously
last
been on
year.
the cards. I mean, so his video, his very highly produced video that came out.
Yes.
I saw Laura Dodsworth, author of State of Fear, say, and here's one I made earlier, as if it's some kind of
Yes.
Blue Peter production.
It's incredible. Yeah, sorry, I just forgot to get the video for this. But yeah, he had a very, very highly polished video that we'll go through at some point because it's just very interesting what he's appealing to in it. But it's very, very well made and clearly wasn't done yesterday.
Yeah.
So he seems to have been planning this for a long time. What I found though interesting though is one of my favourite GB News commentators is Mark Dolan. I actually
Yes,
think
he's a friend.
Yeah, he's
good
a
friend of
very smart chap. So a very rare dropping of the ball by him by endorsing Rishi Sunak.
I've had a go at him for this
Oh,
before.
really?
Yes, he's actually said that Rishi Sunak, again, is anti-woke and he's the only one with enough credentials. And I did have a pop and said he is the one that's printed us into this situation.
Yeah.
And he is insistent on everyone around him is screaming into the ether, please lower taxes. And he just goes, so right, yeah, national insurance rise, got it.
Diversity built Britain coin, Mark. Don't know what to tell you. He's not an anti-woke.
Well,
Crusader.
Mark's a lovely guy.
Oh, yeah.
But for example, when I went on one of his panels, he brought a woman on who was the former Lib Dem spin doctor, and the reason she was on the show is because she brought into the green room a series of photos of when she went on holiday with Mark when he was about 16.
Right.
So his family very much know the Liberal
Right.
Democrat apparatus, even
Yeah.
though he's obviously very he's a sort of libertarian. He's more socially permissive, but he's anti-woke.
Right, moving on then. Let's go for Grant Shapps. This isn't in any particular order. Grant Shapps is actually the one in the least position, the lowest position.
Shock.
Yeah, I'm going to communicate. Okay, well, what's your plan? I had to dig to find out what his plan was.
I love he says, I can communicate. Today he went on and spoke about the trans issue and he said, I don't think we should be talking about this.
Yes. He wants to step aside from these important cultural questions. And basically he was just like, oh, well, we need to level up the country. I'm an optimist. It's very, very stock rhetoric.
Utilitarian.
Very utilitarian. And, we need to tackle the cost of living crisis. Oh, thank God. Someone said it. Of course we do. Of course we do. Now, how quickly can you hang Rishi Sunak? That's the question. If you're going to do that, because he's the one who's responsible for it, is he not?
He's the architect of our poverty.
Exactly. And he's like, well, I'd like low taxes. Yeah, God.
So would I.
Yeah.
If only someone would have thought of this years
and you
ago.
even had that in the Conservative manifesto, and yet the Conservatives raised taxes. So I don't know what to tell you. So anyway, okay, good. Low tax is good. Right, moving on. Says it doesn't want to get involved in cultural issues. Just let people live their lives. You can go to the next one, John. He was like, okay, that's all well and good, but then when you have a big burly man in the girls' bathrooms, and the women are like, this can't stand, you're just going to be like, look, just let people live their lives. Trans women are women. Thanks, Grant. Moving on. Penny Mordaunt released...
no.
Oh, just an embarrassing video. Honestly, it struck me as like...
plastic patriotism.
More than that, though. It was like, this was the product of a focus group. Right?
Yes.
That's very... Like, we'll have diverse people.
Yeah.
We'll have people, just doing things.
There's a great bit in this where she talks about the Conservative Party, the most electorally successful in our history, and she plays two clips, and she plays the Cameron-Clegg coalition, immediately followed by Theresa May.
Brilliant.
If that's your branding, you're getting nowhere, love.
You could have used Winston Churchill.
Well, you did for 10 seconds there.
Oh, yeah,
and then this is why I'm saying it's very imitative patriotism. It's like the progressive skin suit, because she's even got the wartime BBC voice playing over it. She's playing I vow to thee my country, and if it was anyone else and more sincerely felt, it would be a very effective strategy, but I just don't believe her.
No one believes her. And various people on Twitter who like, if you go to the next one, this Johnny Peacock, who's featured in the clip like as a racer, running a race. She's like, can you take me out of that, please? It's like, well, no, you don't get that choice. But what was really weird is that she included a clip of Oscar Pistorius. Like, why?
Probably preemanating her
The next one,
being taken out of the race.
Like, literally, like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? Like, this guy's in jail for murder at the moment. But I suppose he is a disabled black athlete, so,
How long till he's on football players' helmets?
No. Anyway, in 2018, she was like, yeah, so trans women are women.
Yes.
Which was embarrassing. It's just literally the progressive line. And so now she's happy to be like, hang on a second, no, wait, everyone's like, that's stupid and ridiculous and doesn't make any sense. So now I'm a TERF. I am biologically a woman. If I have a hysterectomy or mastectomy, I am still a woman. I am legally a woman. Some people born male who have been through gender recognition process are also legally female.
But this is the problem. How can you be legally a biological category when you aren't the biological category? This is
trying to serve two constituencies.
Yeah, the verbal conflation that went on with Rachel Levine when they said the first female. Sorry, hang on.
Not female.
Yeah,
literally biologically male. But that does not mean they are biological women. Then don't say legally female. They're legally women, maybe.
Yes.
But again, what does that mean if it doesn't connect to anything? But anyway, she's ridiculous. Moving on. Tom Tugendhat, ex-military chap who is a Remainer.
Also went to the Bilderberg summit last month.
And wants to rejoin the single market. Oh, no, sorry, he actually didn't say that. Someone else was saying that, and he was like, well. But he was a Remainer and ardent Remainer. So moving on. Priti Patel has put herself forward as well.
I'm continually disappointed by Priti Patel because she got up at the Tory party conference and said, we're going to sever the snake of human trafficking. It turns out it was a hydra, and you've been utterly unable to slay it.
I mean, I appreciate her bullying people out of the civil service.
Yes.
But
again, this is the progressive cudgel. They're going to hit her with that. They're going to say, "Oh, she's a bully," and everyone's going to go, "Yeah, thank God, get them back in the office. They're useless."
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing I like about her. But in her defense, I've not seen her doing any woke genuflecting.
No.
So that's good. She has been an ardent Brexiteer. And the thing is, the problem is, I'm worried that she'll be a continuation of sort of Boris's government if she's chosen. Now, I didn't hate Boris. I was just continually disappointed by Boris, disappointed by her generally, unless she's planning. If her manifesto campaign pledge was, I'm going to continue bullying the civil service until they all quit, then I'd probably back her fully, to be honest. But
I don't think she's going to be political dynamite enough to disrupt the party apparatus, which has impeded her at every turn already.
Yeah.
So
it's not even that I think her intention isn't correct.
No, I agree.
I think her instincts are right. It's just that I don't think she's going to be able to do the job.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on, Nadim Zahawi.
Ugh. I hate this man.
No, tell me why.
So, as John already covered, he's trying to outlaw homeschooling as former education secretary. And then as Callum covered before, he's his own press gang arm by owning YouGov. And then, of course, vaccination minister who lied to Claire Fox and the rest of us on Twitter about whether or not he's willing to institute vaccine passports. I think he's a despicable, duplicitous politician.
Well, 73% of people disagree with you. But yeah, no, he, again, it's interesting how he's leaning into the culture wars, though. He's like, I want to reduce taxes, protect kids, and raise defense spending. And so Pink News were like, ugh, we hate this immigrant man. This is Section 28. If we can't propagandize children, you're going to be persecuting us. So,
okay, my opinion is slowly changing.
Yes, but that's an interesting self-report, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, protect children from perverse nonsense. Well, that's going to affect us.
Yeah. I'm in this photo and I didn't like it.
Yes, exactly. Well, maybe. But again, I mean, he says, I will continue to focus letting children be children, protecting them from damaging and inappropriate nonsense being forced on them by radical activists. Okay, well, I like the energy. But again, in every other way, I hate the guy. So moving on. Yeah. Let's talk about Suella Braverman. I actually don't mind her. I'm kind of apathetic on her because she hasn't been that strong a presence in the last few years. Sure, but she's causing the right people to be very worried. She's the Attorney General of England, and she is she's taken something of a back seat. But whenever she's appeared in public, I've always had actually rather good impressions of the things she's saying. Like she's, Brexiteer. She's very against all this nonsense. And in fact, there's a great quote here. She thinks there's a Remainer conspiracy in the civil service. It's like, yeah.
Oh, congratulations, you have eyes. I don't know if you saw the recent Question Time with Alistair Campbell on it.
No, I didn't. Actually.
He was salivating at the prospect of rejoining the European Union because yes, there was another lord who said when Boris goes, Brexit goes. So it's pretty evident that it's seen as a blockade.
And so they're complaining that she thinks there's a Remainer conspiracy. She wants to get rid of woke nonsense. You can't accuse her of being racist. It's like, okay, good. I'm glad you're upset about all of this.
She did vote for vaccine passports, though.
Of course she did. God damn it.
Yep.
But she does want to leave the ECHR, the European Court of Human Rights, which is currently preventing us from actually stopping the illegal immigrants crossing the channel. So there's that. And the fact that she's come out and just said it is just open.
I went on France 24 about this, and they accused me and the rest of Britain of being hypocritical on Ukraine because if you leave the ECHR, you're unwilling to live up to your international commitments. One academic, British expat over to Paris, said Boris Johnson's doing this to bring back slavery. And then another academic who was German was saying essentially the same thing. And I just refuse to take lessons on international law from a German.
To bring back slavery?
I know, it's some sort of fantasy land where Boris is some sort of...
What, like Napoleon
would
did?
Be valid point.
Sorry, again, don't take lectures from Frenchmen either.
Yes.
Anyway, she does do a good job putting forward the case on Brexit. She's been doing this for years now. She did this in 2019 on BBC Question Time. And, okay, fair. She's against trans pupils or teachers pandering to trans pupils anyway, if you go to the next one, which is fairly good. Schools don't have to accommodate this as far as she's concerned, and they shouldn't, so that's good. She's generally okay, men shouldn't be in women's bathrooms and stuff. Anyway, I'm running over on this one bit, sorry. So anyway, next one is Kemi Badenoch, who I like, but with caveats. Again, like Kemi is one of the smarter conservatives and has actually put a bit of thought into the things that she says, and was famously called the Minister for Inequality, which I thought was great.
Beautiful.
Yes,
Absolutely beautiful.
that's fantastic. If you're going to get the left calling you the Minister for Inequality, then you're clearly doing something right. And she wants to focus on limited government, and that would be a nice start.
Again, though, voted for vaccine passports.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
Yeah, this is why, with caveats.
Yes.
But
She might be the most amenable to elite capture.
yes, I think so.
Yeah.
In fact, she's well on the way, I would say, actually. So essentially, what I think here is interesting, though. She says, the governing Britain today requires a nimble centre-right vision that can achieve things despite entrenched opposition from a cultural establishment that will not accept that the world has moved on from Blairism. I think that is interesting because that's a good observation. The world has moved on from Blairism. And of course, The Guardian is screeching, absolutely screeching. So it's right, good. She's going to bring the culture war rhetoric to the Tory leadership. But basically good as much, although she does do weird woke things every now and again.
Yes.
Like this. Delighted to announce that you can now apply for a gender recognition certificate online. Just in time for Pride Month, the new service has been carefully developed to meet applicants' needs and remove barriers highlighted by users.
It's staggering. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't she directly debate Kimberly Crenshaw on intersectionality?
She destroyed
So
Kimberly Crenshaw
shouldn't you
on
be
this.
understanding the outgrowth of intersectionality and pride, especially with the racially segregated pride flag, is directly targeting you, all of the people you care about, and so wouldn't you wield that as a weapon against the left rather than sing by their hymn sheet?
Especially someone who comes very much from the sort of classical liberal mold of very
Yes.
limited government, property rights, all of these things that we think are good about the West. Recognizing that intersectionality is a communist attack on those things seems to be step one. So I don't know why she's done this. But the point is, as Owen Jones molds about on Twitter, is that the Overton window has, at least in some ways, shifted rightwards. So that's a good start. Maybe we can keep pushing the Conservatives to keep shifting that way. But you'll notice that there's one thing that none of them have spoken about, and that's immigration. Not one of them have mentioned immigration. And I would say it's probably because the Conservatives gave out over 1 million visas for foreigners to come and live here last year. For some reason, the Conservatives have just become the party of mass immigration, more than Blair could ever imagined putting through. So this, I think, if you're an activist online, feel free to email your local MP, feel free to email any of these candidates, and ask them, why aren't you talking about immigration?
And please send them Callum and I's video on why it's fueling the housing crisis.
Exactly.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Epoch series, this one being on the Anglo-Saxons with Carl and Bo. If you want to find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.